rise and shine. 6 a.m. and your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in rebellion, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you've chosen to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back, because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams fan out like a river delta before you, each one promising the path of least resistance. Thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, when you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable and safe and what some would call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash you away. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're on your way now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent you can't see, but oh, you can feel him on your heels, can't you? Feel him breathing down your neck. You know what that is? That's you. Your fears, your doubts, and insecurities all lined up like a firing squad, ready to shoot you out of the sky. But don't lose heart. While they're not easily defeated, they are far from invincible. Remember, this is the grind, the battle royale between you and your mind, your body, and the devil on your shoulder who's telling you that this is just a game. This is just a waste of time. Your opponents are stronger than you. Drown out the voice of uncertainty with the sound of your own heartbeat. Burn away your self-doubt with a fire lit beneath you. Remember what we're fighting for, and never forget that momentum is a cruel mistress. She can turn on a dime with the smallest mistake. She is ever searching for the weak place in your armor, that one tiny thing you forgot to prepare for. So as long as the devil is hiding the details, the question remains, is that all you got? Are you sure? And when the answer is yes, when you've done all you can to prepare yourself for battle, then it's time to go forth and boldly face your enemy, the enemy within. Only now you must take that fight into the open, into hostile territory. You're a lion in a field of lions, all hunting the same elusive prey with a desperate starvation that says victory is the only thing that can keep you alive. So believe that voice that says you can run a little faster, and you can throw a little harder, and that for you, the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Luck is the last dying wish of those who want to believe that winning can happen by accident. Sweat, on the other hand, is for those who know it's a choice. So decide now, because destiny waits for no man. And when your time comes and 1,000 different voices are trying to tell you you're not ready for it, listen instead to that lone voice of dissent. The one that says you are ready, you are prepared. It's all up to you now. So rise and shine.
Get up, everybody. Welcome to Cold War Radio live from the Steel City Resistance Studio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We got a big show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to get Stacy on the line, having a little bit of technical difficulties. But we'll take care of that, don't worry. Don't worry, we're ready for you. We got a rough one tonight, though. I got to tell you that. This is not going to be a happy show, unfortunately, but we are going to win.
Good evening. Do not attempt to adjust your radio. There is nothing wrong. We have taken control as to bring you this special show. We will return it to you as soon as you are grooving.
I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., ladies and gentlemen, deep down in the broadcast bunker. Please follow me on Spreaker, like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. I want to thank Ward Miller for keeping that thing up. You can catch the show on Blueberry, YouTube, the405media.com, iHeartRadio, the Cold War Radio app, which is available free in your app store, regardless of what phone you have. The email is hutch@steelcityresistance.com. The Cold War Radio Patron hotline is open, and it's 412-567-1460. The chat room is active and up on Spreaker. And please, ladies and gentlemen, go to steelcityresistance.com, where you can catch the show notes links. More importantly, become a Cold War Radio patron. If you want to send mail, it's Hutch Bailey Jr., P.O. Box 96022. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15226. At the only post office I ever saw that physically locks its doors for a 1 hour lunch period from 12:30 to 1:30. You can't even get into the P.O. box area. So there's that, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Sigmund for upping your game on PayPal. I appreciate that, sir. I really do. I know people dig deep. I appreciate it. It's especially appreciated nowadays that I am in the retirement mode, which is good. But I'm still trying to contact Stacy in the normal way. I'm going to ask her to call in. Actually, call in right from Skype, Stacy, and I'll just pick you up that way. We'll see if that works. It should. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, some things have been going on in election politics that has me a little bit disturbed. I came to an epiphany. I had an epiphany as I was listening to Rush Limbaugh today. And I didn't get any clips for the show tonight because I didn't want to sound like I was trying to steal his clips. But between what he said and what I've seen and what I've heard, I am really concerned that what we're seeing is a coup. And what I mean when I say that is that when you look at the things that have been going on recently with Republicans, it looks very much to me like the power in Washington, D.C., being a member of this god-awful corrupt government that we have at the federal, at other levels also. They're all connected. But to have this level of corruption in Washington, D.C., I think that it is to the point now where being in that club is more important than anything else. More important than the country, more important than the presidency, more important than what party is in power. You've heard the term uniparty. I know you have. If nowhere else, you've heard it here. But recently, what happened in the PA 18, I thought my iPad was fixed. It's clearly not. But we are diligently working with it here on live radio. It's always so fun. I have some solutions that I'll work on after the show. But you won't hear that again, don't worry. But when you have this special election, and then directly after it, you hear all of the never-Trumper types, the consultants, like specifically the consultant that paid $100 million for 3 delegates for Jeb Bush, and other delegates or other so-called conservative analysts and different people. When you hear them all in unison after the PA 18 election debacle, which I'm going to get into here in a minute, when you hear them all saying that it's over and the House is gone, there's a blue wave, that's the term they use, there's a blue wave coming and there's no way to get away from it. You have all these old school fuddy-duddies retiring from Congress because they know that the gravy train is over, and if they stay in, they might get caught. And, oh no, the president might get a real attorney general in there that might really put people in prison. It looks, with the resignations and the analysts, that's not the right word for them. But when you look at the capitulation, it's scary. I mean, it looks to me like Paul Ryan and the rest of the leadership at the GOP is really trying. I think it's more important for them to stay in office and continue with the gravy train that they're on than it is to do their job. And what came up recently, and we're going to try to get Stacy on the phone here right now. And good evening to Atlanta. Let's welcome Stacy Rush to the show.
Hello, Hutch Bailey Jr. I'm so sorry I'm having problems with my systems.
We will figure that out. There will be no call-ins, though, ladies and gentlemen, because I can't have two calls at the same time. So, yes, we can. You called here. No problem. Call-in line's working. Okay. Now, I hope you listened to Rush today. Did you get a chance to listen to any?
I did. I listened to him a little bit, off and on. Didn't get to hear, everything, but I did hear what you were just talking about with Paul Ryan and the rhinos and sabotage, essentially.
Yeah, and I went even further when I started thinking about that because there was an article that was sent to me a couple days ago. Actually, it was earlier today, and no, it was yesterday. But it basically laid out the title of the article. It was from something I'd never seen before, BigLeaguePolitics.com. Mm-hmm. And the title of the article was "Breaking: Paul Ryan's PAC Elected Democrat Connor Lamb," and that was what Rush was getting to. He was alluding to when he said he wasn't going to say anything about it yet. Mm-hmm. Because I got this 2 days ago. I sent it to Drudge. Drudge didn't do anything with it. But then I started seeing it come up other places, like at the conservative treehouse. Once it came up there, I knew it was right. But this basically has Paul Ryan's PAC sent a direct mail to Democrats thanking Connor Lamb for supporting our Second Amendment rights. I mean, basically endorsing him. And when I saw that, coupled with what Rush was saying when he put those conservative people on there, they're not analysts. What do they call them? Murphy and
they're strategists.
Yeah, strategists. He put these guys up there, and they're all giving away the house already. After one special election, that by the way, there's some additional stories coming in on that, on how I don't know if this is a national story or not, but this district was redistricted. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which is mostly Democrats, decided that it was illegal the way this was districted. So this district is getting cut in two. And what happened was some people at the polls were turned away because they weren't in the new district. But the new district doesn't take effect yet. This was still for the old district. And they were literally turned away from the polls. So there's several things that are still outstanding in this race, which is I don't know. We had Sheriff Clark on the Wayne Dupree show last night, and he doesn't think that we should go and worry about this. We need to drive on. But I got a sore spot for this. This election fraud bothers me almost as much as the Ryan thing.
Yeah, and I'm on the fence about it a little bit myself, Hutch, because it is a special election where they will serve, if I'm not mistaken, just a little over a year. And like you said, the district is being broken up. But with that said, my concern is all of these elections, whether they be local elections, a couple of House seats where the Democrats have won, it's concerning to me because everything is plugging along. ISIS is being destroyed. We're down on illegal immigration. The stock market is going through the roof. Jobless claims are going down. Everything is just ticking along with this agenda. And I keep thinking, how do they keep winning these seats? And so then that brings me back to fraud. And I'm not saying that fraud occurred. You know, you had the perfect candidate running against a weak GOP candidate. You had an or a former Marine running as a conservative, essentially, on the Democrat ticket against some older guy who just wasn't that strong of a politician, from what I'm hearing. So I'm not necessarily saying there was fraud involved in this, but it is concerning because what are they running on? You know, and who's coming out to vote for Democrats when you see all of this positive, positivity going on with the Trump agenda? So it is concerning. I'm just a little bit on the fence because of the short-termness of this seat and how they're breaking up that particular district and such. I think we've got bigger fights to fight, better candidates to put out there. But at the same time, you just don't want election fraud to be going on. It's extremely important and it needs to be stopped.
The other thing that needs to be stopped is if the leadership in the Republican Party is actively trying to give away the House, that we need to shake the leadership up. I mean, that's something that, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's call this what it is, because this is not the House taking over the Democrats taking over the majority of the House representatives and we just go on like we're going. That's not what this is. If the Democrats take over the majority of the House of Representatives, our president is impeached on day one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't forget that. And it'll tie up, it will end making America great again because there'll be nothing else to do but the impeachment.
Mm-hmm. And when you hear people like this Mike Murphy, and this is the small part that I heard on Rush's show today, was him talking about, I blame Trump for this loss. Well, what the hell are you talking about? This guy was down by 5 points. Trump came in and campaigned for him and he lost by 600 votes. And hasn't conceded at this point in time as they're trying to figure all of this out. I mean, who is this jackass, out there blaming Trump for this? Because this isn't Trump's fault. And it's a typical never Trumper out there. And that kind of stuff frustrates the crap out of me. And I will tell you guys, I was involved with the National Republican Senate Committee with some social media stuff back in 2013. I think I was on some conference calls with the leadership, and Mike was on the call at that time as well. And they are just the biggest bunch of buffoon rhinos establishments that you could ever want to run into. Not that you would want to run into them. So that his comments today just really burned me up. This has nothing to do with Trump.
No, and you're exactly right on the way you characterize these people. They are going to tell, because this is who they are. These are the people that want to keep their positions in Washington. Mm-hmm. They want to go to the Democrat parties. They want to go to the cocktail parties and everything else. And the next thing you're going to hear is we're going to have to start backing off a little bit on guns. Mm-hmm. They're going to go completely moderate. And that's what they think. They think even after Jeb Bush crashed and burned as bad as he did, even after that, they still think this is a winning formula. And it's not. Conservatism is the winning formula.
It is the winning formula, and it cracks me up to see people talking about people like Jeff Flake running for president and John Kasich. I'm like, you guys are just totally insane, are you not? Because you're not going to win a national election. And that's the thing I think that the Republicans have to get back to, is they have to get back to nationalizing even these district house races, And they're going to have to make these races about our border, about immigration, and about having a functioning economy on all four cylinders, and reminding people that if you elect that Democrat, you're basically going to stop this agenda, period, end of story. Because like you said, if they win back the House, they're going to impeach him on day one. Now, will the Senate come through and do anything with it? No, they won't. But it's still going to be disruptive, and he's not going to be able to get anything done moving forward.
The Senate won't do anything, but only because it takes 3/4 of the Senate to convict him.
Exactly. If it didn't take 3/4, they would. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Because the vast majority of them want things to stay as it is. And that's what people need to understand, is that there are far more people in Washington that are part of that uniparty that you and Wayne spend a lot of time talking about. There are very few. They are still the minority who are actually out there fighting the good fight, even on the Democrat side, because there are some over there that are true believers on the left, that aren't necessarily part of the establishment, but they're very few and far between, just like the Republicans are. And they are not there to represent you and me. They are there to enrich themselves, enrich their families, enrich their friends, and make sure that you stay divided and that nothing changes.
So right. And it's a dangerous situation, and you got to start letting these people know. I think that we have to go forward enthusiastically. But the other thing that we have to do is be scared. You have to be afraid, because these people, if you will never, if Donald Trump is taken down, if he's stymied and he doesn't get elected for a second term, forget about it, man. It's signed, sealed, and delivered. If you're alive right now listening to my voice, you will never see another guy like him again.
No, you won't.
We'll never have this opportunity. That's right.
And the other thing that you need to be scared of out there is that the Democrats know how to get the vote out. They are experts in it. They will drive people to 7 different polling places to vote when there's no ID required. Right. They know exactly what they're doing. And so for every cheating vote out there, you've got to get to your friends, your family, people who don't normally pay attention, who don't normally vote in these midterm elections, don't normally vote at all, and you've got to get them registered and out to the polls to vote.
That's
because
right.
They are enthusiastic, and it may be less of them, but the far left is enthusiastic, and they know how to cheat.
They do.
They know how to get the vote out, and they know how to cheat.
And that happened in this election, too. And the reason you know is because it happened in Allegheny County. I'm just telling you, that's just, I have no proof, but I hope somebody digs. And the good news, because I'm still mad about Saccone. Saccone, I don't think he lost that. And this is the third time that in his career that he's had to do this. So he knows how to challenge an election that's close. And he won the other 2 times too.
Well, and the interesting thing about that, Hutch, is I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that he had to do this twice. But I almost get the feeling that the powers that be in the GOP and the National Republican, Congressional Committee that Mike Murphy is a part of, I almost get the feeling that behind the scenes, they're like, hey, man, the district's going to be, split up. You need to concentrate on getting yourself on the ticket in the newly formed district. We're going to back you. We're going to be there for you. Just let this go. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And again, I have no proof of that either.
Well, let's just look back at Minnesota. Look back at Al Franken. I can't believe they gave that one away.
I know.
3 recounts, and by the third one, he had just enough votes out of the trunk of somebody's car that he got, and they didn't even contest it. Neil Coleman, I think, was his name.
Yeah, Norm Coleman.
Norm Coleman. They didn't even contest it. It was, and they never do, and that's what makes me so mad about this.
And that's why I think that you have a point there in why he should contest this. It's time to stop allowing this to occur. It's time to find out if there were illegal votes on there, get them off of it. I mean, it is time to fight back. And if we don't do this now, like you said, we're not going to have another president like Trump.
No. And I mean, I'm tired of getting my lunch money taken off me. It's time that, you work and you go to the rallies, you do the show every night, whatever, and they could just bus in. There was reports from bus drivers out of Philadelphia that they drove Mexicans up here. I mean, they said, they didn't say illegals because they didn't know, but you know what time it is. I mean, it needs to be investigated, and it's a damn shame that our federal government isn't more on top of this. It was one election. I know you can't do it when everybody's voting, but why couldn't you have sent somebody here from DOJ? Just somebody to observe. But no, we just go ahead, let them do it. They're honest, yeah.
No, they're not.
Anyway, I had to bring that up. I was really, if you notice in the show notes, I didn't put anything else in the opening monologue. I wanted to talk about that, and I just, like I said, you got to start using when you use social media, you got to start using these people's handles. You know, when you talk about Speaker Ryan, put his name in there, at Speaker Ryan. You know, it's something that we have to get some traction. We got to get this party back before we're even going to. We won't be able to get the country back.
And I agree with you. And one other tip on the social media platform, at least on Twitter, go and respond to something that person has actually, posted on Twitter or what have you. Don't just post at Speaker Paul Ryan sucks and did this and that and this and that. Go to something that Paul Ryan's account has posted and respond to it. You get a little bit more traction that way. You get a little bit more people talking about your comments that way, and even get 2 or 3 of your friends to get on there at the same time and just go back and forth with one another on their Twitter timeline, because you'll get a little bit more reaction and more response that way. So that's just a little tip there for you on Twitter.
What about if you retweet with comments?
If you read, what I've noticed is that when I get more interaction from people, especially from the left, is when I have responded to something on someone's timeline. Okay. If you're just tweeting it from your timeline, then it's going to be your followers who are going to see it. If you go to someone's account like a Wayne Dupree or a Paul Ryan or someone with a lot more followers, and you respond to their tweets, more people see your comments that way. And I feel like you get a lot more traction than just like retweeting with comments.
I actually do that with my mayor. He tweeted out something about taking all kinds of advice from this guy in the Swedish government, and I was like, hey, can you do a little homework first? The weapon of choice over there is a hand grenade. We don't need any Swedish influence here. But anyway, okay, so there we go. That's a strategy we're going to have to buckle down and do some hard work. 2018 is no different than 2016 when it comes to the trajectory of the United States of America. If the rhinos get this, if the rhinos are able. Now, they've already resigned a bunch of seats, and we've lost, I think this is the second national seat that we've lost like this, but we've lost 40 altogether.
Yeah, and that was the scary part of it, and I'm glad you just made that distinction, because I saw 39 being batted about the other day, and I'm like, we have not lost 39 congressional seats, but this is the second one that we've lost recently, and it is going to get them incented, and they are going to be, putting their nose to the grindstone. But that's why I was saying we've got to get national within these districts. We've got to make this about, not just where you are right now, because at the end of the day, your congressperson isn't going to be able to do a damn thing for you if we keep allowing illegal immigration into this country, No, if we paralyze Donald Trump's agenda, you might as well say goodbye. It doesn't matter who represents you in your district.
That's completely right. So we're going to have to buckle down and get to work. It's just the way it's going to have to be. But we knew it was going to be that way. I didn't expect this cowardly activity by the Republican Party. I didn't. I figured once the guy got in, we'd be good and we'd sail straight. But we're not, man. He's doing things that is really upsetting the apple cart, and it's great for the country, but it's not great for them. Mm-mm. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, looking forward into the international realm, I see some disturbing things that are going on in the Middle East. In the Middle East, you have 2 major factions. Forget politics. You have 2 major factions of Islam, and that's their politics. You've got the Shia and the Sunni, and you've got a hegemonic type situation that Iran is operating in on the Shiite side, and you've got the Saudis, who are Sunnis, who are very threatened by that. And I think this is something that we really need to watch in the Middle East, is the coming Sunni Shiite war, because it's coming. Mm-hmm. And you can see it. You can see things lining up, and it's going to drag us into it, and it's going to drag Russia into it, and it could drag China into it. But the Saudi crown prince says that if Iran develops nuclear bomb, so will Saudi. Well, guess who facilitated Iran developing a nuclear bomb? Little Bobby Corker. And the Corker Amendment with the treaty with Iran that was unauthorized and paid cold, hard cash in the middle of the night. From CBS News, the next leader of Saudi Arabia said his country would quickly obtain a nuclear bomb if arch-rival Iran successfully develops its own nuclear weapon. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman made the statement about a possible nuclear arms race in the Middle East to the CBS This Morning co-host Norah O'Donnell in an interview set to air on this Sunday's 60 Minutes. The interview was the first with a Saudi leader for a U.S. television network since 2005. O'Donnell, a contributing correspondent for 60 Minutes, asked the 32-year-old Crown Prince about the political, economic, and social reforms unfolding in his kingdom. And he got all into that. But this is a serious development, Stacey.
It is a serious development and unsurprising, I suppose, when you're Barack Obama and you're leaving a pallet full of hundreds of millions of dollars so that Iran can form a nuclear program. You know, you have to understand that other countries are going to react, and this is just a bad situation all around. And I think you can thank Barack Hussein Obama and, like you said, Corker directly for this, and it's a scary situation.
And you know, there's another thing to look at. I mean, these Republicans, this is one of the most important duties and authorities that the United States Senate has. The Senate, I just have to do a little bit of history here. When the Founding Fathers developed the House and the Senate, the bicameral legislative branch of government, what they did was they made the People's House and they made the Senate, and the House was more or less a direct representative body, and you had to be 25 years old to be a House member. Now remember, this is the 1700s, so the life expectancy rate was much less, much younger. In the Senate, that was where bills were supposed to go to die. Mm-hmm. In other words, the founders felt the less laws, the better. And you had to be an old man of 30 years old to be in the Senate. And for years it went on that way. But then they changed it, and they changed the Constitution. They amended the Constitution. The state legislatures used to select the two senators for the state. Mm-hmm. To make sure that the senators would always have the state's interests in mind, because mm-hmm. they could be snatched back immediately. Now it's a popular vote, so it's a little bit more. I don't know. It's different than it was. It's not. It's a popularity contest now. So
yeah, and it sucks at some points in time. You know, I kind of like the idea of you being able to be pulled back, right, by your state's governor if you don't have your state's best interest at heart. But, you know, it's amazing to me what a bloated bureaucracy we have become, because it was designed so that bills were not and laws were not supposed to be passed, you know, willy-nilly without our congressmen and senators even reading and understanding what are in them, you know? Can you
imagine John McCain being sent by Arizona's state legislature to the Senate? He would have never came out for that Gang of Eight. I mean, the things that he did.
He wouldn't have. No, he would not have, because it did not have his citizens, what was best for his citizens' interest at heart. You're absolutely correct.
They censured him in the Arizona state legislature. And then after that, he came back and got with senior Republicans and got rid of most of the people that censored him. I mean, it's bad. It's really
disgusting. That man, I cannot stand him. I truly cannot stand him. I'm so ready for him to go.
Yeah, he's an evil guy, no question. But what I meant to say was, the most important thing that they can do is ratify a treaty.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a treaty with Iran, and they jumbotroned the words to make it up like it wasn't a treaty, but it was a treaty. Because we got hostages back and everything else, and Bob Corker, the way a treaty works in the Senate, the way a treaty gets ratified, and I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but It takes 2/3 of the senators to ratify a treaty, and they're the only people that can ratify a treaty between the United States and another country. And Bob Corker, with his Corker Amendment, switched it around that it needed 2/3 of the Senate to turn it down. I mean, he should hang.
Yeah.
If you look at the consequences, Iran gets that money. Where do you think a piece of that money goes on day one? Hezbollah and Hamas. I mean, they're really arming people. They're arming people with rockets that get launched.
I know. And it's so disgusting to me. And I still, to this day, cannot believe everything that went in to get that deal passed, because it's so much bigger than even the Corker Amendment, you know?
I do.
There is so much lying, so much deception, so much just evil that went on to get that deal passed. And then I just read a headline, Hutch, today, and you probably know more about it, that apparently the generals are behind the Pentagon's behind the Iran deal and wants it to remain. I mean, I just don't understand what did we get positively out of this deal? Because as far as I can tell, as a layperson, I'm not seeing much positivity for the United States out of this deal.
I think what a lot of people don't realize, especially people that aren't in the military or weren't in the military, is the deep state is there too. It's not that the Pentagon is not some untouchable, integrity-filled place. And the guy that really wants the Iran deal to stay in place might not be around much longer, and that's H.R. McMaster.
God, I would love for him to go.
And there's other people in there too. I mean, there's people in there, even General Mattis tried to get the former ambassador to Egypt to be his undersecretary. And she was horrible. I mean, she was one of the ones that was promoting the Muslim Brotherhood. You know, they had signs in Cairo with her picture on it. They wanted to kill her. So I don't. It's there too, and it's got to be. I do have faith in Mattis. I do not have faith in McMaster. I think that anybody in his position that can say that Islam has nothing to do with any of these killings has got to go. He just doesn't understand what's happening, or he's been brainwashed or something. I don't know what it is. But that alone, to me, is a no-go.
I agree.
Let's switch to immigration real quick. Something happened here in the last couple of days, and this is the legacy of the Democrats' immigration pushes, and anybody else, the Chamber of Commerce, anybody else who is for this immigration push from third world countries. Travelers who landed in Detroit, Newark, and Memphis pop up with the measles.
Of course.
Now think about that. And think about those cities. Detroit, full of third world Iraqis and other immigrants. Newark, right next door to where the blind sheik lived. You know, I mean, it's another place filled with Islamic immigrants. I don't know that much about Memphis. But
I was about to say, I don't know about that either. But no, I hear you. I follow your logic.
Detroit, people who visited the North Terminal at Detroit Metropolitan Airport on March 6th likely were exposed to the highly contagious virus, according to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. In Newark, passengers in terminals B and C of Newark Liberty International Airport also exposed and could develop symptoms as late as April 2nd, according to the New Jersey Department of Health. In Memphis, the young child diagnosed with measles arrived in Newark from Brussels and flew to Memphis International Airport. I would love to hear his name because I'm going to guarantee he's not Belgian.
I would too.
You know,
I'd like to hear all of their names, every one of them.
Right. And then some additional articles that you can access from the article in the show notes. Cheerleaders from 39 states potentially exposed to mumps. HIV syphilis cluster in teens and adults found in Milwaukee. New York City officials issue measles warning after tourist leaves virus trail. Now, you look at this, and let's listen to where Detroit Metropolitan Airport is a hub for Delta Airlines. That's down your way. In its McNamara terminal, Various airlines have international flights, many based in the North Terminal, that fly to and from Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, Great Britain, Japan, Jordan, Korea, Mexico, and the Netherlands. International travelers who arrived in Newark's Terminal B on flights from Amsterdam, Beijing, Bogota, Brussels, Cancun, Copenhagen, Dublin, Edinburgh, Frankfurt, Geneva, Havana, London, Madrid, how do we have flights from Havana? Manchester, United Kingdom, Lisbon, Portugal, Lomé, Togo, Mexico City, Monrovia, Liberia, Munich, Oslo, Panama City, Panama, Paris, Quebec, Reykjavik, Santiago, Shanghai, Tel Aviv. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's the United Nations in there. Mm-hmm. I say don't go to that airport.
I'm telling you, and it's so frustrating to see these diseases continue to spike up, because of what we've got going on here with our immigration issues. And it's just, it's not only immigration issues, because you also have these clusters of people in the United States now who refuse to have their children immunized, and it's such a frustrating situation as a parent to watch this and to see what's happening. And these are real issues that affect real families within the U.S. and it's something that we need to take seriously. We've got to get a hold of our immigration situation, because it doesn't just affect jobs and the economy, it affects our health as well.
And I don't know what happened with they say that these new cocktails of vaccinations are causing autism or something. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I know one thing. I'm the most vaccinated person in this audience, because I had to get 40 more of them to go to Iraq. I mean, I got my smallpox over. I got everything, all the anthraxes. And I wanted to take a razor blade and just make little cuts on my arm and jump in the Euphrates River to see if it worked. To see if the vaccinations worked. That's how many I had.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and I don't know as well. I mean, clearly something is going on with the rate at which children are getting autism. And I do think that there probably is something that could be related to the vaccines, but I don't know that it is worth.
The problem is that there's so much money involved.
Exactly. You would never.
The lobbies won't even let any research happen.
Exactly. Exactly. And I watched a friend of mine, and I can speak from experience. She was actually my roommate after college. We went to college together. And I remember being pregnant with my first child, and she came to visit me. I was on bed rest in the hospital, and she brought her 2-year-old with her. And he was a normal behaving 2-year-old, happy, expressive, chattering, walking, doing everything. She had him vaccinated shortly thereafter, and then he stopped speaking.
Yeah.
And I can just speak from that one personal experience where I experienced this child before his vaccination, and he was perfectly normal. She happened to be a stay-at-home mom and a very determined young lady, and she went through all the research and worked with him so much. He's a very highly functioning child with I would say more of Asperger's than autism, but he went through a very severe time frame where he was non-communicative after that vaccine, and she worked with him nonstop and was able to pull him out of that, which was just amazing to me.
That's great. All we had to worry about was making sure we didn't eat lead paint chips.
Exactly.
That was a big thing. But back then, when I was a kid, you were expected to get chicken pox. And I remember getting them.
Me too.
And our parents, my parents locked my 2 brothers in, and we all played, so we all got it at the same time, and we're done with it. And there was even neighbors that were going to come over, and that was the way they did things, because once you have it, it's over.
I know, but God, wasn't it awful when you had it? I still remembered it was terrible.
I remember the scabs and everything when you started scratching them. The calamine.
I wore gloves.
Continuing with immigration and the new confederacy that's formed in the United States and California, California has appointed an illegal alien to state office. California has its first illegal alien in state office after Senate President Pro Tem Kevin DeLeon, Democrat Los Angeles, appointed Lizbeth Mateo to the California Student Opportunity and Access Program Project Grant Advisory Committee.
Well, and Mateo is an attorney, was born in Mexico and came to the U.S. illegally at the age of 14 with her parents, who are also illegal aliens, according to the Sacramento Bee. And if I were ICE, I would be going to said parents' house now and deporting them.
That's right. She's going to be in charge of the grants. Can you imagine how many Irish kids are going to get those grants?
And what I found interesting to me, too, is what she said. That she complained that illegal aliens are not adequately represented in state government, nor should they be.
Unbelievable.
And and described her appointment as a step towards correcting that alleged injustice. How about the injustice of your parents breaking our law, living here your entire life? Who should be represented? We, the people, should be represented. And if I were ICE, I would find her parents' address and I would go deport them. I'm tired. I want to make examples. I'm tired of people throwing this crap in your face.
If you look at her Facebook page, it's Lizbeth. There's no A. It's not Elizabeth without D. It's Lizbeth Mateo. Her Facebook, her profile picture is her and her family holding up a Mexican flag.
Mm-hmm. In 2016, apparently celebrating her graduation from Santa Clara University School of Law, Mateo declared in Spanish, "Everything is dedicated to, I don't know how to say this, Oaxaca, Mexico, to the land that I miss so much. Go back."
Unbelievable.
You miss it, go back. You owe everything, go back.
That's it.
I am so sick of this crap.
And for you people that are standing up for her, go with her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to live in Mexico because they don't want to be Americanized, man. They just don't. They don't want to assimilate into our culture. No. Look at how she talks.
Celebrating her graduation, and she dedicates it to Mexico, not to the U.S. that gave her the opportunity.
Or probably the taxpayers that paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but on a sad note, being that Cold War Radio is a proud iHeartRadio program, I don't know how much longer that's going to last because the largest U.S. radio company, iHeartMedia, files for bankruptcy. Now, what they did is they reached an in-principle agreement with some creditors. So this doesn't mean that iHeartRadio is going away by any means. This just means that they're going to take care of some debts, and they're probably going to have to scale back some of their efforts. I hope one of them isn't podcasters because, to be honest, iHeartRadio pays the bills for Spreaker for Cold War Radio. Mm-hmm. They don't pay all the bills. I got to pay for the apps. Mm-hmm. But iHeartRadio pays my fee to Spreaker because we were able to get on the network. So tell more people about the show. You got to have an audience to get that. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they will prevail and come out the other end leaner and meaner and continuing with the program of keeping our show on the air.
I hope so. I hope so. And maybe it'll be a chance for them really to think about how to move forward in this kind of difficult, new media environment that we've got going on there. Be creative.
Absolutely. Now, you guys remember back a couple years ago, there was a Muslim young man, a student, that brought a contraption to school that looked like a bomb to me, and it looked like a bomb to everybody at the school, too. Well, it wasn't a bomb, I guess. I think it was all a setup. Was he? No, he wasn't. I was thinking there was a connection between him and the family at the Democrat convention.
No,
but
I don't think so.
He was a veterans, a KIA's father. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this clock boy sued the school, and a judge has dismissed Clock Boy's lawsuit against the school with prejudice. From the American thinker, in 2015, Ahmed Mohammed, a 14-year-old student at MacArthur High School in Irving, Texas, brought what he claimed was a homemade clock to school. When he showed it to one of his teachers, The older man thought immediately it was a bomb. That would have been me, too. I would have thought. Police were called, and Ahmed was escorted to the police station. The world exploded in outrage. Pearls were grabbed in every corner. The kid was showing how clever he was, but Islamophobic authorities believed the worst because he was a Muslim, despite the fact that the machine didn't look much like a clock and appeared very much to be a bomb. The weepy left got involved, and young Ahmed became a celebrity. Remember that? He was on every TV, every magazine. I mean, you couldn't get away from him.
No, and President Obama even invited him over to the White House. You know, NASA invited him for a tour. It's disgusting, in my opinion. I mean, if anybody, I just went and pulled up, Clock Boy's Clock and looked at some images before the show, and it looked like there was nothing clock about that. It was in a suitcase with a bunch of wires. I still don't see anything that represents any sort of time on it. I mean, hell, I'm looking at it. I'm like, where the hell is it supposed to tell you the time? Because I ain't seeing any. All I'm seeing are wires and a suitcase. Well,
first of all, if you bring a suitcase that's ticking, that's sending my antennae up right away.
Absolutely. And it was just, honestly, it probably was a big, huge setup, in my opinion.
By his parents. I remember his parents were some kind of operative somewhere. I don't know if it was with CARE or ISNA or something, but they weren't just obscure immigrants from Pakistan. They were involved. They were involved in politics and things like that. So it was definitely something to make people react. And the thing is,
why would you do that? If you didn't want something like that to happen, if you're this good Muslim that we hear about all the time, peace-loving Muslims who just want to love America and practice their religion, if that were you as the parent, why would you allow your kid to go to school with something like that? It's because they wanted to unnerve the people at the school. They wanted something to happen, whether or not it was to get a lawsuit or attention or what have you. They wanted something to occur. And that's not this group of people who just love this country and want the freedom to practice their religion.
No, this is their tactics. This is what they do. The last 10 episodes, the Islamophobic accusations all turned out to be Muslims that did it. I mean, they put graffiti on their own mosque. They burn their own mosque down. They do this. This is what they do, and it's old. But the thing that really gets me, how can you be a Democrat, a normal person, not a political junkie, but a normal person? You're a Democrat, and look at these people, how they are hating their own country in your name. That's what's happening. They're doing it in your name.
And that's why we should be winning these elections left and right. And so, to bring it back to your point at the very beginning, we've got to make sure that fraud and voter fraud is not going on out there, but we've got to nationalize these individual elections, because you're exactly right. If you're a Democrat, are you really okay with these people like this person who was just, appointed in California that's an illegal alien, just trashing your country? Are you okay with that?
I know, it's unbelievable. Stacey, we're out of time. Final comments, and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, thanks, Hutch. It was a pleasure to be with you as usual. And you guys can most easily reach me at Discovering Me 40 on Twitter. And I am the Right Rush on Gab. And you guys have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for listening live on Spreaker, and anyone who listens to the program at any other time, the podcast. Thank you, too. We love you all. I am Hutch Bailey Jr. on Facebook, Bird's Eye View on Twitter. Rocky's firing the chopper up. We're getting ready to head to the Wayne Dupree show. The Brick Wall Studios. Thanks for letting us into your life for 1 hour. We will catch you back on Monday. God bless.